So today we have invited Carlton Phipps, Director of Statistics, and Corneil Williams, a Social Statistician in the Department of Statistics and Deputy Census Officer with responsibility for field operations for the Population and Housing Census to come in. So he's going to tell us if you have been cooperating with the enumerators or not. Uh-oh, somebody's not going to be on Santa's good list this year. The last time they were here, of course, they were talking about preparations being made, and now the census is actually taking place. So welcome back to Good Morning SKN.
Welcome back, gentlemen.
And again, I see no election campaigners.
No.
All right, so has the public been cooperating with the enumerators? Yeah.
And no, he looks like he has a no to that.
Good morning again. Well, indeed, thank you for this opportunity to come back here again and to speak to y'all and speak to the general public. Certainly, be out in the field, pushing on with the work. My colleague here, responsibility for field operations, provide a little more update in terms of how things are going in the field. And I'll come back in later.
Okay.
Good morning, guys. I hope all is well. Yes, there has been cooperation, and we are very much grateful for that. The majority of persons, when we've come to their houses, they've welcomed us. Willingly or not, they've welcomed us, and they've answered the questions. Unfortunately, there have been that few persons that would have said, no, I don't want to, I do not wish to, and we would have had to be persuasive in getting them to respond. So slowly but surely we're getting there.
Part of me is wondering if they're actually confusing you with the election campaigners, but that's a story for another day. Because this is an interesting season to be on the street anyway. And yeah, both election campaigners and census enumerators have come to my house. So I understand the signals are being crossed a little bit, but grateful to hear of the cooperation.
Why do you think the public is not willing to cooperate, although we try to educate and sensitize them to the importance of the information?
You want to take that one on me?
So, go ahead, do that.
There's two parts, of course. There's the concern about, as you said, the field being crowded. You have persons coming as canvassers for political parties. You've got pollsters actually in the field as well. And you have us as the census enumerating public. Generally, persons are reluctant to give what they consider to be personal and private information. And especially so if they feel that this information will not be held as personal and private. So what we are trying our best to do always is to assure and convince them that in fact everything they tell us is personal and private and would never be divulged, except with their own personal consent and directive.
All right, so for clarity, there are questions on that form that persons can choose to answer in detail, or persons can choose to answer generally, or perhaps not provide information about, but you still give other information, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so there is really no concern, I would say, because persons get to choose what they divulge. All right, so what about the myths concerning census enumerators? Have there been people saying, certain things that not to be true that you hear all the time?
One that spans every census that I've been a part of, and even before I became involved, is that it's for tax purposes mainly. They do not need us to conduct the census to decide to tax you. If the government wishes to tax you, they'll tax you. But what we do is to inform both the public and the administrative sector as to what's going on in the country. Informed decision making is better than haphazard decision making, so it benefits everybody.
Right. Interesting myth, though.
Wow. Never thought of it like that. So that's something new that I learned today. So viewers, let's take a look at this video produced by the Department of Statistics and see if it busts any myths for you.
Hey Barbara Gill, what you doing?
I am collecting data for the Population and Housing Census.
The Population and Housing Census? What's that about?
The Population and Housing Census is the collection of data on the people and housing conditions in every community on the island. The data collected is necessary to facilitate decision making, which aim to improve the quality of life of our people.
So you all aren't tired of minding people's business? I know people are concerned about their information getting on the road.
Girl, I can assure you that we are not minding anybody's business. The information I am collecting is confidential under the Statistics Act. I declared an oath of secrecy that could result in criminal penalties if I disclose any information. The same goes for persons working for the Statistics Department.
Okay. I hear you. So you all must collect data from everybody on the island?
Yes, of course. Everyone counts. We will visit every household. The information is important for government's plan for housing, healthcare, and education services. And the information is also useful for the expansion of business activities.
Oh, really? I didn't think of that.
Shauna, let me ask you something. Why do you think that people in the community next door got indoor bathroom facilities added onto their homes some years ago? The results of the last census provided government with a picture of their situation, and the government put a plan in place to help those persons who were in need.
Hey, Barbara.
That with all of these advertisements and all of these education, that the public is fully educated to answer your questions and deal with you differently?
It helps. I don't know that I can say fully.
Okay.
Because you don't know how many persons would have actually viewed or listened. But I can say it has helped greatly. Response rate generally is much improved and making good strides.
Okay. So how much of the population have you managed to cover in both St. Kitts and Nevis?
Approximately 60% at this point.
Oh, nice. So you guys are getting along.
It's the last 40% that is always the hopeful side.
And I have one more question. How much of the answers do you believe is the actual truth that you're getting from us?
Much of it.
Trust in your fellow man.
Trust, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we believe that with the work that we have put in with the enumerators in terms of training them, we believe that we have provided them with enough information skills that they need in terms of explaining each section, each question to the person so that they would respond truthfully to the questions. So we think we're in a good place when it comes to that.
Okay, good stuff, good stuff.
All right, one last question for you. When it comes to those questions that people perhaps refuse to answer, do you collect data on that part that might be left blank? Is there a question that a lot of people tend to refuse to answer generally?
If I were to select one, it's regard to income. But we've negated that by showing them that it's not a direct figure we're asking for a range. So we don't want you to give me down to the dollars and cents, but we give you groupings and we say which one would you fit into. So we try and be mindful of the fact that you don't want to be too personal.
Fair, very fair. So, gentlemen, when do you think the collection of data will conclude? Mr. Phipps? Corneil's looking at you.
Yes. We would have initially said the end of July to complete the data collection. But given the other activities that are going on, some persons are difficult to get because they're either out canvassing, campaigning, or go attending meetings. That has been a bit of a challenge. Also with our enumerators, the amount of time that they have to work in the evenings, probably from, let's say, from 5 to 7, is very limited in terms of the numbers that they can cover during the weekday. Of course, on the weekend, they're able to do a bit more. So we have been encouraging them as much as possible to really try to push on with the work, but we do understand the limitations. And most important for us is the safety and security of our enumerators. So we don't want them out the 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock because they're pushing to get their work done. We want them to be safe while at the same time getting the work done. Yeah.
But I just had this genius idea that if we can send a few enumerators amongst the, what do you call it, amongst the campaigners, amongst the meetings, and we collect information there, they will be willing to give it back. Maybe,
Confidentiality. Yeah, we want to have that. Yeah,
Okay.
we want to have that
So
private
my bright
space.
idea count. All right, I
And it might
tried.
actually backfire.
But thanks for the thought anyway.
All right.
But
So,
maybe
yes.
perhaps that would be a good way to touch base with them to get them to set up the interview.
You see that?
Find them
So
there.
you see, it's
Tight
not
vision.
bad, not bad.
Okay, yes, we see that, we see that. All right. So when we talked about the percentage, you did mention that the last 40% seems to be an issue. What percentage, by way of recent censuses that we've had, would normally be an issue for you as in not answering questions?
To be fair, when it's all said and done, we do get some 97% coverage and response rate in some way, shape, or form. It's simply taking a bit longer right now, in part because, like I said, there are so many things going on. But this 40% will get covered. We are confident of that.
All right, so are you willing to make any projections as to that end date now, since we are at the end of July? Or will you be modest in your answer and say you'll continue?
Well, so despite all the other activities that are going on, we have decided that we're going to push on with the census activities. We were having some discussion back and forth about the possibility of pausing for some period of time, but you recognize the fact that we pause now. When do we start again? So we are pushing on as much as possible. We recognize that in between some periods may be going a bit slow, but we want to push on. We will not be able to complete it by the end of July. But we're hoping that we can complete it by the end of August. We're hoping. And well, not just hoping, we're working towards that, actually.
Okay. So, gentlemen, after the completion of this census, what is the next step with the data you would have collected?
It will be the completion of the field aspect of census, but then comes the in-house part of it in terms of data cleaning, and then the tabulation, etc., so that you guys can have reports in the public domain, so you can know what we found out, what the result of the census is, because the key aim of a census is to inform. So next step, clean and compile.
For those persons who may not understand clean, can you expound on that a bit?
In as much as we would have gone into an electronic version of census tablets and a computerized process for data capture, there will be some issues and some errors there. We have to confirm and correct as we go along, so that we have as clean a bit of data going in, so that when we compile these tables and we represent it back to you, the public, we can say with confidence that it is true and correct.
All right, so in terms of the processes that you're going to use to review the collection of data, we talked previously about the fact that this is the first time that, the enumerators would be using devices such as this. So I imagine that part of your process internally would be looking at the overview of the process and coming up with ways perhaps you could address pitfalls and so on. What can you tell us right now that you might, at least in the preliminary phase, be looking at to discuss that?
Ensuring that all persons understand fully the processes involved, we using the software and the tablet. It's somewhat different from simply pen and paper, and the transition for some persons was not as nice as we would have liked. However, we took time and we were able to get them on board and get them fully capable to do the job. But we just want to make sure everybody is tech savvy, because that's the reality we face now.
Absolutely right. So let's talk about the ratio of enumerators to staff at the statistics department. So you look for volunteers, if I'm not mistaken, outside. Do you have any statistics for us? Which is a weird question, I know, as to how many people volunteered, because the person who came to my house, I know for a fact that she does not work full-time with you guys.
The vast majority of enumerators and supervisors are actually non-staff, in that because of the sheer numbers that we need. We had to outsource a lot of it, and it's actually not volunteering, they are compensated.
Yes, okay, I stand corrected.
I thank them for volunteering, but they are compensated for doing that work.
All right, fair enough. All right, well, gentlemen, we want to thank you for coming by. Before we go, though, I think there was a big picture question that I had to direct to Mr. Phipps. So the big picture, Mr. Phipps.
Big picture. The census data is one of our key data sets that make available information for planning, policy making. And we want persons to understand that the data is not just a matter of collecting data and say, well, the population of St. Kitts is this, population of St. Kitts is that. But this information is important for decision-making processes. So when we boast of St. Kitts Nevis having a high GDP per capita, St. Kitts Nevis have a high Human Development Index score. I think we are among the top 5 in the region among 189 countries around the world. I think we rank somewhere 74 of 189 countries. We didn't just get there by chance. We need data so we can plan properly. Our government can plan properly, that businesses can make use of opportunity so that we can better grow St. Kitts Nevis. We can promote the sustainable growth and development of St. Kitts Nevis. But I would like to end by basically thanking our enumerators and supervisors and even our office staff, not forgetting those, for all the work they have been doing in the census. We have come a long way in terms of where we are in the data collection process. There's still a lot more work to be done, but we want to thank everyone for their full support to the process. Also to households, but those persons who have not provided their details yet because we probably have not reached them, or they kind of think that it is not important. I would say, as JFK said in his inaugural address, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. This is your opportunity to contribute to the development of your country.